Psychology and Psychoanalysis. Hi everyone, my name is Ellen Park. If you're new to this podcast, welcome. I'm a licensed psychologist in New York and I'm so glad you're here. Thank you for tuning in. I hope you'll find the content I share here insightful, practical, and meaningful. Hi everyone, I hope you're having a great summer. People often come to therapy because they want to make better decisions. But our decisions are not made only through logic. To think about this more deeply, in August 2026, I want to introduce a book called Blink by Malcolm Gladwell, which I first read when I was an undergrad student. Blink is about our decision-making process. It explores rapid judgment, intuition, and what Gladwell calls the adaptive unconscious. This book shows how our unconscious thoughts and feelings can sometimes work faster than our conscious logical thinking. In some situations, they may even guide us more accurately. This also reminds me of the psychologist and Nobel Prize winner Daniel Kahneman's well-known book, Thinking Fast and Slow, especially his distinction between fast intuitive thinking and slower, more deliberate thinking. Reading Blink again also reminded me of Freud's iceberg analogy. As you can see in the image for this podcast episode or YouTube video, Freud described consciousness as only the tip of the iceberg. What we're aware of, our rational thoughts and logical explanations, is only a small part of the mind. Beneath the surface is something much larger. Unconscious feelings, wishes, fears, automatic thoughts, hidden motivations, or emotional patterns. So today I want to share 3 main points from this book and how they connect to psychology and psychoanalysis. First, the unconscious mind is powerful. Gladwell gives many examples of how people can know something before they can explain it logically. One example is the R statue, where experts sense almost immediately that something was wrong even before they could explain exactly why. Another example is the Iowa gambling experiment, where people's bodies began to detect danger before their conscious minds understood the pattern. These examples suggest that unconscious judgment can be very powerful. Sometimes the body and mind know something before we can put it into words. This is also very similar to what we see in clinical work. In psychoanalysis, we listen not only to what people consciously say, but also to patterns and emotions that appear between the lines. The unconscious is not just a hidden storage room. It is active. It shapes perception, relationships, desire, fear, and decision-making. Second, intuition can be useful, but it is not always right. One concept from Blink that I find especially useful is thin slicing. Thin slicing means making a judgment based on a very small amount of information. Sometimes this can be surprisingly accurate. We may sense something about a person, a situation, or relationship very quickly. But there is also a dark side. Snap judgments can be wrong. Intuition can be affected by our emotional states. The unconscious is powerful, but it is not always wise. It can protect us, but it can also distort reality and lead us to poor decision-making. This is why I think we have to be careful. Just because something feels true does not always mean it's true. But at the same time, just because something is unconscious does not mean it should be ignored. Third, conscious and unconscious thinking need to work together. The distinction between Gladwell's adaptive unconscious and Freud's unconscious is especially interesting. Gladwell's adaptive unconscious is often described as efficient and useful. It helps us make quick decisions. Freud unconscious, however, includes conflict, repression, desire, defense, and anxiety. So my question is, are these really separate, or are they different ways of looking at the same complicated mental life? Later in Blink, Gladwell also talks about psychoanalysis and the exploration of the unconscious mind. So I think the unconscious is a broad concept that includes many things. Then the question becomes, what do we do with the unconscious and the conscious mind? I agree with the book that both perspectives matter. Sometimes unconscious processes help us. They allow us to respond quickly, sense danger, read emotions, and make decisions without overthinking. But sometimes unconscious processes interfere with our judgment. Different emotions and instincts may conflict with each other. Maybe the goal is not to choose one over the other. Maybe the goal is to maximize the benefits of both, to respect intuition while also examining it, and to use logic without pretending that we're only logical beings. I want to go one step deeper here. The unconscious and conscious mind do not simply run in parallel. They interact with each other. The unconscious affects conscious cognition, and conscious reflection can also affect the unconscious over time. We might say that the unconscious keeps track of our life experiences, even when we do not consciously remember or understand them. The psychoanalyst Christopher Bollas used the phrase the unthought known to describe something we know deeply but have not yet been able to think or put into words. So the point is not that unconscious thought is always superior to conscious thought. And it's not that logical thinking is better than intuition. Both are important. Intuition and feeling matter. Logic and conscious reflection also matter. It is about learning how to use both to make better decisions. That is why Blink stayed with me. Reading it again as a psychologist helped me see how deeply connected it is to questions we still ask today. Like, how do we know what we know? How much of our mind is hidden from us? And how can we become more aware of the unconscious forces shaping our lives? So what are your thoughts? I hope this gives you an idea of the power of the unconscious mind. Hope you have a great day. See you next time.